Hello everybody, I am Uncle E. And a long time ago I did a video on cleaning your fryer. Well, I got a better process to do it now. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first. You need a very large pot. Preferably spouted. Makes pouring easier. The next thing you need, a mesh filter. This keeps most of the particulate matter in here. And you really want that. So first things first. You got your fryer. The oil, it's kind of cold. So the best thing to do to help you along, go ahead and plug it in. Let's get it over here. And let's go ahead and warm it up. Now, depending on how dirty your oil is, will depend on how long it takes to warm it up a little bit. And you obviously don't want it too hot, because then if you do any spillage and you get any on yourself, you're going to burn yourself. So we're going to let this heat up for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now you want to grab your pot. Now, depending on how dirty your oil is, grab another deep dish like this, or if you've got another pot, grab another pot like this. It really helps if they have these spouts. It makes pouring a lot easier, because if you don't do it right, this grease will go everywhere when you take this and pour it into this through this. So 3, maybe 5 minutes. Okay folks, so this has been warming up. The oil is moving around. And it's just warm enough to be loose. So let's go ahead and unplug it. Unplug it. Now let's get ready to do this trio of fun. Come with me. Alright folks, what we're going to do, I'm going to take my oil very fast, dump it in there. Now, as you can see, there's a decent amount of crud in there. Not a lot, but that's going to change the taste, flavor, and the consistency of the oil. Make the oil take longer to heat up. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this, put it off to the side. Okay, so now that we've got our Fry Daddy in the sink, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to pour some soap. Get it filled up with water. Okay, now there's a bunch of grease in here, and there's a bunch of crud in here. So if you've got a sponge that you don't care about, this one's pretty beaten up, this is one you want to use. So let's go ahead and get it in there. Stir it up a little bit. You want to get everything loose. Makes it easier to clean. Makes it easier to clean. Okay. Go ahead and rinse your sponge out. Most of the garbage is gone. Go ahead and one more time, Soap it up. Definitely soap it up. Mix it up. Now this is one of those non-abrasive scrub pads. I'm not too worried. If you've got an abrasive scrub pad, make sure you use your sponge. Make sure you use your sponge. You do not want to take the Teflon coating off of this at all. Alright. Now another thing I want to do, you may want to do the same. Give the outside a scrub if you want. Give the outside a scrub if you want. Get your sponge soaped up and just scrub. I've had this for a very long time, and every time I scrub this thing out, I try to do this. Sometimes I'm more successful than others, but this oil's been pretty caked on over the years. Now you might be wondering, am I worried about the electrics inside of this? Yes and no. The reason why I say yes is because any electronics with water doesn't like electricity, especially if it's wet. So if I were to plug this in right now, done, gone. Completely and totally. So it's going to dry. It's going to be let dried before I decide to plug this in. But as you can see, the interior of this is completely clean. Now another thing I recommend when you're cleaning this, once you've cleaned it, get yourself a paper towel or two and dry the inside. And get it as dry as you possibly can. You may not get all the water out of it because moisture likes to stick to things and you may not necessarily see all of it. But as you can see, there's some wetness that I've gotten out of there. Okay. Beautiful. So it's dry, but the reason why you want to dry it out is because the moment you plug this in and you put your oil in this, if there's any residual water in this whatsoever, your oil will start to bubble and pop. And that can create a massive mess if there's too much of it. So now that we've got this inside dry, go ahead and dry the outside a little bit. Now again, this is going to sit on the side for at least a few hours. If you want to wait a couple days, more power to you. Let's go ahead and put this over here. Now, the reason why I want to do this, the reason why I want to do this into that, I can put it in here, run it through the filter with the spout, get all the oil into here, and then clean out the pot and do the exact same thing. I want to try and get as much residue out of my oil as possible. Let's do it. So, what I'm going to do now, move that spout off to the side. I'm going to pour my oil through the mesh filter. Now the oil's cooled down a little bit, so it's thickened up, but it is not completely cold. Okay. Now, look at how much residue is in that. Now the question then becomes, do I want to try and get as much more oil out of that as I can? And that's up to you. As you can see, that's pretty gloopy. There's still plenty of oil left in that gloop. That's fried chicken. That's beer batter for my onion rings. It's a number of different things. Okay. Again, there's a lot of gloopy stuff in there. And it gets to a certain point where you're not going to want to save anymore. And I'm at that point. So we're going to take this, we're going to put it over here. Notice how much gloopiness I've got in my filter. Yeah, there's a decent amount left in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I really don't need this rag anymore. I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it under here so I don't drip oil and gloop anywhere, and I'm going to go to my garbage can and I'm going to dump it out. So 1 second. Now it's dumped out. You can see the sheen from where the oil still is. So we're going to do two things. I'm going to wash this, and I'm going to wash this. So go ahead and throw some soap in there. Hot water. Done sponge. And as you're doing this, you're going to feel the clumps in here. As you can see, there's still some stuff left at the bottom. And there's still plenty of grease and grime and grit down here. Let's go ahead and rinse this sink out a little bit more. Rinse this mesh filter out a little bit more. Most of the grease is gone from my hands. So I'm going to wash this out one more time. With the water still soapy, because it's pretty much clean. And again, if you've got an abrasive sponge, it helps to use the sponge side versus the abrasive side. Take that sponge and make sure you get every bit of the surface. You should be doing your dishes like this anyway, trying to get every little bit of surface coverage so you get your dishes nice and clean. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another paper towel and I'm going to dry this off a little bit. Okay, that's nice and clean. This is nice and clean. I'm going to dry it out, and then we're going to go through this again. So I want my oil to be as nice and clean as I can possibly get it. Get all the excess water out of there that I can. Dry my pot out as much as I can, because again, you don't want any water in your oil. Any at all. Do everything you can to try and get the moisture completely taken care of and rid of. Same for this. As you can see, there's moisture on the paper towel. So I'm going to dry it out. Beautiful. Nice and dry. So we're going to filter this one more time. Now, I don't know if you can see it. I can. But there are little particles at the top, floating at the top. Now, if you've got a finer screen than this, more power to you. This is what I've got, and this is what I'm going to work with. So again, let's do this. Now notice, there's a decent amount of residue at the bottom of this. Do I want to go any further? Pour more of this out? No, I don't. That silt is at the bottom, and I don't want it going through the filter and into my oil. So, we're going to put that off to the side. There's not a lot of silt. There's not a lot of silt at the bottom of this. So, more than likely, the silt that's going into that is able to get through that, and therefore, we're pretty much done filtering. We can filter it out all we want. We can go through 10, 15 different tries. There's probably silt at the bottom of this pot too. So let's go ahead and call it good and be done with this last filter. So let's go ahead and get this cleaned up real quick. So we're going to take this out. And again, you can see a little bit of speckage, a little bit of leftovers at the top. We're going to call it good here. So go ahead one more time. Get everything clean. Get everything clean. Don't hesitate to clean things. Don't hesitate to do what it takes to get things clean. The better to do it now when you've got the opportunity than to let it sit for a certain amount of time and do it when you find it convenient to do. It's better to do things now than later. Okay, so let's go ahead and again get it clean. Get every bit of surface that you can. completely clean. Rinse it out. Now, there's still grease in here, and there's still a little bit of silt. So one more time, now that most of the grease is gone, most of the silt is gone, we're going to wash this one more time, get this completely clean. Rinse it out. One of the easiest ways to find out if this has residual grease on it is once this is dried in your dryer or in your washer or on the rack, if you take your finger and you get grease, it needs to be washed again. But in this case, I'm going to take my paper towel, which has done nothing but touch clean surfaces. I'm going to get this dried off somewhat. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in my rack. So, and this entire process is if you're reusing your oil. If you're reusing your oil, you definitely want to do these filtering techniques. If you're using brand new oil, the first part of this video is all you need to care about. So let's go ahead and pour this oil back in here. Now, you can see this. Notice how there is almost no silt left. There's no crud left at the bottom. There's still a little bit left. There's still a little bit left, but not a lot. Not a lot. Okay. Now, as far as refilling your Fry Daddy or your fryer up, depending on the moisture content of anything you fry, will cause it to boil up. And if you fill it up too high, it'll boil out. It'll boil out and it'll cause a massive mess. Usually, what I do, and your finger length is going to be different than mine, but I go to the knuckle on this finger. I go to the knuckle and I fill it up. So one second. What oil you use for your fryer is up to you. She's a dead duck. Alright, so this is filled up completely with oil. It has been cleaned completely. There should be almost no silt and residue in it, and this will be beautiful to cook anything you need in this fryer. And now that we're done filling this up and cleaning this, again, we're going to let it sit for a while so the electronics dry off. And the last thing we need to do is clean this. Because again, you want to clean everything. You want to get everything clean. You don't want to leave dirty dishes laying around when you get to doing something like this. there we go. All the oil's been drained. No greasiness. Dry it out with my paper towel here. Get everything just a little bit cleaner. Stick this in here. Let it air dry. And we're golden. That is it, folks. That is how to clean your fryer. That is how to clean the utensils and the tools that you use to clean your fryer to make it just as wonderful as you possibly can. I'm Uncle Lee. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace, and have a good one. Bye, guys.